So we've had over 20 years of local legal initiative on our local ordinance project between us and the NRA. There are sometimes the NRA runs silent, and then they end up with this moniker, the NRA has abandoned California. No, they have not, nor have they ever. There are some times when the NRA shows up, and we can use Prop 63 as an example. The NRA not once opened its mouth on Prop 63 because they knew that's exactly what Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom wanted. He wanted the NRA as the boogeyman so he could raise funds for his 2018 gubernatorial campaign. It was the CRPA that took point on that. And what did he call us? Never once did he call us the California Rifle Pistol Association. He said, the California NRA down there in Fullerton, California is attacking me. We are the state association of the NRA, but we are not the California NRA. We're the California Rifle and Pistol Association. But that is a demonstration of why sometimes the NRA goes quiet, because it's not going to be the little whipping boy that they put up there to try to fundraise with. And again, I think that's wise. So what do? Instead? They pour tons of money into local ordinance projects. They send their attorneys in. They put people on the ground in, and they let it run under somebody else's banner to get the job done. But I need everybody in here to realize they have never, nor are they planning to. Chris Cox just 3 weeks ago, Todd was there to see it on video, promised for the second year in a row, every dollar given to the NRA ILA campaign in California stays in California. It doesn't even go back there. It stays right here. Here's our grassroots recruitment initiative with the NRA. So locally coordinated individuals and groups are working with members' councils, NRA headquarters, FFLs, Gun Owners of California, different people, Pink Pistols, other political groups. But we're working on public relations, county government lobbying, event coordination, local elections. On the event coordination, Sarah Barrett is back here, our events manager. Any event, no matter how small or how big, we will advertise, we will drive people, we will do targeted email campaigns for you. And guess how much we're going to charge you? Nothing. Our motto, very simply, is be safe, shoot straight, fight back. Anything we can do to get more people into the community, we'll do it. I also want to talk about, I won't do it just yet, come to it. Political action is the name of the game. So we're trying to get people like you locally involved. So I do something locally every year at the 4th of July. And I'm going to tell you how powerful this is. And I'm not saying everybody has to go do what Rick does. Be creative, come up with your own stuff. This is what happens. So on my street, there are several of us that are ex-law enforcement, ex-fire department and stuff, and so we kind of close our street down. There might be some current serving law enforcement people that collect fireworks throughout the year and bring them to this party, okay? Might. And then one of us, I usually go sometime mid-June, and I drop a boar somewhere here in California, bring it back, split head to tail, and I have a huge Santa Maria barbecue that's on a trailer that my fire buddies across the street bring in, and we roast a pig. Category behind my house is the lady who ran the Obama campaign in Huntington Beach. So hopefully you guys kind of figure out that Linda and Rick agree on nothing, okay? She is the last person I'm looking at making pro anything on our side. That to me was like the lost cause. And she's one of those people, how many of you remember the old Bewitched or saw it in reruns? She is Gladys Kravitz times 10, okay? So she comes wheeling around on her morning walk that you can set a stopwatch to. It's 9 a.m. every day when she passes my house with her two little dogs. And she walks by and she's like, morning, morning. And I'm cooking. And she's like, what are those? Pigs. Oh, that's a whole pig. Yes, ma'am. Where'd you get that? I harvested it. Trying to avoid a fight. She's like, oh, that's sweet. Walks away. I'm like, yes, got away with it. About noon is when her husband seems to get up and they go for his walk together. And as they come by, He's like, hey, Rick, my wife said you harvested a pig. How do you harvest a pig? Thinking on the fly, and remember, I have been in front of a fire for about 6 hours at this point. I'm like, well, you go out to a farm area or somewhere where there's a pig problem, and you take care of the problem, and then you put it on the grill, and then you serve it, like around 3. He's like, oh, tool off. 2 o'clock, I'm doing pulled pork sandwiches. I got the fire guys. They've had a couple beers, so they're kind of boisterous. They're talking about it, and they're like, dude, so how far away were you when you, as she walks by, shot the pig? And I watch her and her husband hit the liberal brakes, stare right at me with their friends. You killed it? Well, that cat's out of the bag. Yep, sure did. Oh, and then I get a rash of what you would expect. But her husband walks by and he goes, hey, everybody's saying this is pretty good. Can I try some? Hand it off to him. He hands some to her. She comes back, asks for her own sandwich. I'm like, why not? This is going to probably precipitate something bad, but sure. So she has it. 2 days later, I have a knock at the door. And I see her, and I'm thinking, crap, there's probably some code that you can't cook a hunted animal in Huntington Beach on the 4th of July, and I've got some find that she's found. And she hands me a t-shirt, because that's how she makes money. She does t-shirts. It says, hunting tastes good. And I'm like, what? And she goes, this is for you. I'm going to make these up. She goes, hunting tastes so good, and we need to talk. And I'm like, about? And she's like, so how much do I pay you to go hunt pigs like that for me? I can't do that. That's against the law. Well, that's a stupid law. Yes, the people in Sacramento passed that law. And we started that conversation. 2 years later, she has become a royal pain in the butt for Travis Allen, our local assemblyman, because she's trying to get him to carry a law that says people can hunt for other people, because she doesn't want to have that on her hands, but she has no problems paying any other hunter to get her gives high-grade food. I find this remarkably funny and entertaining. But what made me do this a couple years ago was my dad said, you know, your great-grandfather used to do it all the time in Inglewood. Nobody ever had a problem with hunting in his neighborhood. And what I realized was since my great-grandfather's time, most of us hunters give away food. We do things for people, but it's like we're in the closet. We don't talk about it. It's just, you know. And by bringing it back out into the community, I've had several people that have taken up hunting and got into the gun movement because of a pulled pork sandwich on July 4th. So it doesn't always require me to go up to you and say, hey, have you heard about the Second Amendment? Give that line. That sometimes works. But sometimes it's finding another fun way to bring people in. That's part of what we're trying to do on the local level. One of the things is here, you guys can choose to meet wherever you want to meet. Maybe you have a group story working together. We want to give you whatever you need to make it viable and work. If it ends up being that the Tri-County area says it'd be better if we came together as 3 counties, that's great. If Kings County is like, no, we want to roll the Kings County way, that's great too. We want to make sure that you know your network will have, each county will include this, a political liaison. That is somebody that we have hired, a member of Fox News' team that does political action across the country. They are meeting by phone once a month with each of the county political liaisons, letting them know, what's coming down from the federal level, which would be the White House, what's coming out of the congressional sportsmen in Congress, what's coming out of here, what the NRA and the CRPA are doing collectively. And so that becomes a primary channel of political news. The next one is a volunteer mobilization liaison. Again, you know what volunteers are actually going to show up and do something and what ones aren't. And we all know the rule that if you have 100 people, 20 people are the actual ones that will show up, and probably 5 of them are the ones that show up every time. Okay. We will do whatever we can to work with that 5 or however many that is. Media coordinators. We're also looking for somebody at the local level that we can have bring stuff to the media at a local level, so when something happens, we can respond quicker and have at least somebody that has some boots on the ground. So by the time we fly somebody up to Fresno or fly them into Sacramento and drive them down, we're not behind the times in getting stuff done. We can communicate quicker. You'll also have access to all of our professional staff. We've grown from a staff of 4 to 16. We have a group that is specializing on all of this to handle the 58 counties. And any of your questions, we have legal responses for. So here's one of the things I need to explain. We have 3 attorneys that work on nothing but range issues. We have 4 that work on CCW issues, etc., going down the line. It is not uncommon, like last week, all 4 of our CCW people were actually multiple day state cases. So when I got a couple of the phone calls, people are like, I called you on Monday, it's Wednesday morning, it's 7 a.m., why don't I have an answer yet? Because until the judge lets the attorney out so I can get the answer, I'm doing the best I can. We will get it to you. But what I need you to realize, if it's truly an emergency, say like the young lady here in the blue calls up and says, this is an emergency, my husband, my kids, somebody's in trouble, we have a secondary team for that. But we don't want to go to that team just for a routine question of, can I add an extra pistol? What do you think's better? I mean, we actually get people that call us, is it against the law to put a black powder pistol on your CCW? It's an emergency, I know this. Okay, not an emergency, and we can discuss that. The other thing is, you are effectively our eyes and ears at the local level. You're going to know before we do, and definitely before Glenn Caroline and Chris Cox does back at Island, Dan Lehman, the people who run Island, are going to know. So we need you to communicate to us and say, hey, Rick, this is what we got going on, or David Matza, our political person. Our commitment is to be here at least quarterly in the area. We're trying to get faster to be here more often than quarterly, but at least quarterly, and that will rotate. It won't always be me. Sometimes it will be me. Sometimes it will be Chuck. Yes, I'm going to get Chuck Michelle out here to talk with you guys, but that's what we're committing to. Local elections and campaign continue. So here's in your area. 39% voted for Clinton, 52%, God bless you, voted for Trump. Kings County voters overwhelmingly against Prop 63. Again, thank you. You saw voter turnout of 67%. So here's one of the things that we need you to convince people to do. How many of you have a CCW? How many of you know friends that don't have one? Get them to get them. Because this is having a very strong push. We talked about this last night in our offices. We have several sheriffs that used to be what I called fence sitters, kind of like, not so sure. One of them was my own sheriff. So I'm going to give you an insight of a sheriff down in Orange County. Sheriff Hutchins was not big on CCWs, had about 300 and change issued. And then when Pruda, during round 1 at the 9th Circuit, got pushed to our favor, she immediately released and said, okay, I'll issue them. Cause statements became things like, I hike in the woods, there's big cats in the woods, want a gun to protect myself because I can't carry a deputy with me. I got it. You know, things like, hi, I'm an NRA instructor, didn't get them once, but hi, I'm an NRA instructor, I carry guns, I'm scared somebody could take those from me. Got them. She's worked really well. We're now at over 12,000 CCWs in that county, and she wants to get it to 25,000. So, what was part of the matrix to change her mind? Because most county sheriff's elections are decided by less than 2,000 votes. So if she's got 25,000 CCW holders, who do you think they're going to vote for? The chance of a new sheriff that might take their CCWs away, or keep Sheriff Hutchins in office? Does that work for you? It works for me, okay? So part of what we're also looking is, and here's what I've said, I said it on the Iowa. Anybody that thinks that the Democrats will own the governorship is a fatalist. And here's where I come out a little bit stronger in this. We have 8 million gun owners. That's a verified fact. DOJ, everybody will agree to that. Some people will push as high as 12 million. But let's just take 8 million. Here are 2 things you need to realize. If every one of those 8 million gun owners gave $1, we would have had 2 times the amount of money necessary to wipe out Prop 63 in those bills. Notice I didn't say $1,000. Didn't say $100. $1 would have changed the entire game. Secondly, 8 million of us voting, we can make the state purple, we can make it red, we can make it do whatever we want to because we are literally the largest voting bloc in the state. And this is what a lot of people don't like to hear is when I say we have the government that we as Second Amendment people have allowed ourselves to have. it's our fault. And if we don't like what happened to us last year, it's time to wake up and start talking. Because a good friend of mine who works in Pink Pistols, her comment all the time is, LGBTQ community isn't even close to the size of us. And they were able to convince Sacramento to change a lot of laws when it looked like it was doom and gloom just 5 years ago. Here's another one. I hear from people, well, Rick, this is in Texas. Guys, how many of you know Rick Perry? Ran for president. Good Republican governor. Good 2A guy. Was a Democrat 10 years ago. Switched parties and switched tunes. It wasn't that long ago that Texas was thou shalt not carry anything state until a famous incident happened at a local diner that changed the entire state overnight. Okay? So anybody has the attitude that you can't flip a big state, that's a fatalist mentality. Anybody has the attitude that we can't win this is a fatalist mentality. We can, and we're working on doing it because I believe we can win it. There are over 40 counties like you have joined into this campaign, and we're going to get the other 18 fairly quickly. Other counties like you now have a Facebook page. We have set up a Kings County Facebook page. We'll get it released to you guys once we get you formed up. Your meetings, your agendas is what you want to make them. You need us to bring up a portable range and throw a mother-son thing. We were talking about some of those kinds of things. People like Todd here on the local ground are willing to work with us to make that happen because we want to get more people out. There are creative ways to get people involved. We want you to be an advocate. We need you to actually quit yelling at each other. But you need to realize something. In politics, it's called the laws of three. I tell my staff all this all the time. 1/3 of the people, no matter what you do, this man could do everything. He could give everybody $100 bills. 1/3 of them will still say, something creepy about him. He's just wrong, no matter what he does. 1/3 of the people are going to swear that next to Jesus, I'm not trying to be sacrilegious, the man walks on water. He's probably like, that's right. It's the middle third that we're obviously fighting for. I had to teach to hunters, all the hunters on these different stakeholders groups, the Ducks Unlimited, guys Rocky Mountain Elk. You're never going to convince Project Coyote and HSUS of your argument. PETA's never going to buy your argument. But you're not arguing against them. You argue towards them to talk to the people in the audience. There's only 5% of the community in this state are anti-hunting. And there's only 5% that are pro. There's 90% that doesn't have a clue. Our job, educate that 90% and quit wasting time on that 5%. Okay? Get informed. Please don't rely on rumors. This is another great one. When I was talking about the McCarty bill the other day, I'm seeing a group of people that are pretty smart, including people from the department, when they go, Rick, we just read on another group site that's been pulled. It's a dead bill. And I'm like, really? They're like, yeah. I said, that's funny because the state website doesn't say that. But right at that moment, I and our political manager both made phone calls to Tara in McCarty's office and called her up. We're on first name basis. I'm like, hey, Tara, yeah, 424. Where are we at on that? It's going to be heard April 18th. Why? Well, because there's a rumor it's been killed. She's like, no, it's not been killed. We have all of our people lined up. We're ready to go fight you guys. See you on the 18th. But that rumor was making its way through different groups up and down. And that's what caused a lot of dissension. So that is why we invest a lot of money. Our website is, I have staff members that hate me for this. It's updated practically hourly, 24/7 throughout the election cycle. Because we're trying to make sure there's a place for all of you to be able to go to find out. So you're not running around with rumors. Because rumors are being used by the antis. They are going out to different groups and saying, oh, that already got passed, that's already over. And then Todd's people hear that, and they're like, oh yeah, forget about that, it's a done deal. Then you don't show up at that local office, and they get it passed. Until you see it on the CRPA or NRA's website that it's a done deal, it's not a done deal. It's in play, and we fight to the last second. There are things that we have flipped, literally, at the last second. Because there's two ways we win. Get the Democrats to come to our side largely, although there are Democrats that already vote with us, or get them not to vote at all. And there's a lot of them that will choose just not to go vote. They don't want the ire of Kevin De Leon, but they won't vote. That's a win for us. Okay?